Welcome to Full Court WNBA. Today, we are counting down the top 10 hardest, most brutal, and most controversial cheap shots ever committed on Caitlin Clark. We are breaking down the hits the refs tried to ignore, the upgraded flagrants, and the moments where teams completely abandoned basketball just to make a statement. Stick around for our number one spot because it is a blindside hit that literally became a national news headline. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's dive straight into the countdown. Starting our countdown at number 10, we look at a play that perfectly highlights the weird personal frustration opposing teams seem to have against Catlin during her rookie year. During a late-season matchup against the Chicago Sky, the Indiana Fever were absolutely coasting toward a dominant 100-81 blowout win. The game was functionally over, but Sky guard Diamond DeShields seemed completely fed up. After racking up a couple of quick fouls trying to guard Clark, DeShields took things a step too far in transition. As Catlin was running up the floor, DeShields barreled directly into her from behind, sending Clark flying forward across the hardwood. There was absolutely no basketball play being made here. It was pure, unadulterated frustration. The officials immediately reviewed the hit and rightfully upgraded it to a flagrant 1 foul. Clark brushed it off, stepped up to the line, and sank the free throws to lock in a massive 31-point night. But when you are down by nearly 20 points and resorting to cheap shots on the league's biggest star, it's clear you've completely lost the mental battle. If you thought the DeShields play was an isolated incident, number 9 proves that just trying to play basic defense puts a massive physical target on Caitlin's back. During a high-stakes June 2026 matchup against the Connecticut Sun, Clark was fighting hard through a possession. Instead, she ran straight into a literal moving brick wall named Brittany Griner. The 6'9" superstar center didn't just set a normal pick. She aggressively shifted her weight into an egregious moving screen, completely wiping Clark out and leveling her violently onto her back. It was one of the single hardest physical impacts of Caitlin's career. But shockingly, the referees kept their whistles in their pockets and called absolutely nothing. Catlin was visibly furious on the court, and fans flooded social media in absolute outrage over the blatant no call. It is a textbook example of our exact point. The league is letting veteran stars use brutal force to flatten Catlin, and the refs are simply looking the other way while she takes absolute beatings. Number 8 brings us to a moment that was a literal welcome to the league initiation from one of the greatest to ever do it. While everyone talks about the physical defense Caitlin Clark faces when she has the ball, she takes just as much of a beating when she's trying to play defense on the other end of the floor. During a highly anticipated matchup against the New York Liberty, Clark was trying to navigate a possession at the top of the key. Suddenly, former MVP Breanna Stewart stepped right into her path and set an absolute brick wall of a screen. Clark didn't see it coming at all, taking the full brunt of the impact and flying backward onto the hardwood. It was a completely legal but incredibly punishing play that showed the massive difference in sheer size and strength between college and the pros. Stewart used every bit of her frame to make a statement. This clip perfectly illustrates the physical gauntlet Catlin has to run every single night, proving that even when she's just trying to play basic defense, the league's top superstars are waiting to lay her out. Coming in at number 7, we shift our focus to one of the absolute scariest and most reckless defensive trends Caitlin Clark has to face. When you are the greatest long-range shooter on the planet, defenders panic on the perimeter. And when they panic, player safety completely goes out the window. What makes this entry wild is that it didn't even happen in the regular season. During a high-stakes 2026 preseason exhibition matchup against the Dallas Wings, Clark pulled up from deep to launch a triple. Wings forward Alana Smith flew out to make a hard, overzealous closeout, but instead of giving the shooter room to land, Smith completely invaded Caitlin's space. If you watch the replay closely, Caitlin actually took a double hit. She sustained heavy body contact mid-air and then landed brutally hard right on her kneecap. The entire arena held its collective breath as she came up limping. Undercutting a shooter like this is a massive danger. And after a quick review, the officials rightfully upgraded it to a flagrant 1 foul. While the coaching staff pulled her for the rest of the night as an extra precaution, the play sparked a massive online debate. It perfectly highlights our point. Defenders are playing with so much unnecessary aggression that they are risking catastrophic injuries over completely non-competitive games.
I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, physical, and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete.
But number 6 is a textbook example of an opposing player completely losing her cool and choosing violence. During a highly volatile June 17, 2025 matchup against the Connecticut Sun, tensions were at an absolute boiling point. On this possession, guard J.C. Sheldon swiped at the ball and struck Catlin hard across the eye, leaving her visibly dazed. Catlin shoved her back to create space, but before anyone could blink, Sun forward Marina Mabrey charged into the frame like an NFL linebacker. Mabrey completely blindsided Catlin, violently shoving her sideways and launching her straight onto the hardwood. The arena erupted, and players had to be physically separated. The officials completely butchered the call live, only handing out common technical fouls. But after a massive public outcry, the league office watched the tape the next day and rightfully upgraded Mabrey's hit to a flagrant 2. Mabrey later admitted on a podcast,
for example, the Catlin thing, when the play was over and everyone was losing, and then she's like low-key punking her team on top of it.
It perfectly proves our exact point. When veterans get frustrated that they cannot stop her with skill, they resort to actual cheap shots just to take a physical piece out of the league's biggest star. At number 5, we have the ultimate payoff moment where the Indiana Fever finally said, "Enough is enough." For months, fans and media analysts complained that Catlin's teammates were just standing around watching her get bullied, shoved, and targeted every single night. Enter her teammate and ultimate protector, Sophie Cunningham. Late in the fourth quarter of that exact same chaotic game against the Connecticut Sun, guard J.C. Sheldon was still hounding Clark with some extra physical, borderline extracurricular contact. Cunningham decided it was time to play the role of team bodyguard. She stepped right in, wrapped her arms completely around Sheldon's upper body and neck area, and forcefully wrestled her straight down to the hardwood. The officials immediately hit Sophie with a flagrant 2 foul and ejected her from the game on the spot. While she was heavily fined by the league office the next day, she walked off the court with absolutely zero regrets. It was the exact moment Sophie earned her title as the WNBA's ultimate enforcer, proving to the entire sports world that she was more than willing to take an ejection and a fine to send a clear message. Stop messing with Caitlin Clark. Number 4 gives us a monumental chapter in the most famous, highly publicized rivalry in modern women's basketball history. Whenever the Indiana Fever square off against the Chicago Sky, fireworks are guaranteed. But during this intense June 2024 matchup, things took an incredibly dangerous turn. Clark drove hard along the baseline and went up for a heavily contested layup. Angel Reese rotated over from the help side to attempt a block. However, Reese's downward swinging motion completely missed the basketball and clobbered Catlin squarely across the side of her head. The sheer momentum of the strike sent Catlin collapsing straight to the floor, where she immediately clutched her head in pain. The play was reviewed on the monitors by the officiating crew, and after checking the windup and follow-through, they upgraded the call to a flagrant 1 foul. In the post-game press conference, Reese heavily downplayed the hit, claiming it was simply a basketball play. But the brutal nature of the blow and the massive media history between these two superstars made it an immediate national talking point. It proved yet again that even on a standard driving layup, veterans were willing to deliver dangerous blows above the shoulders just to keep Catlin off the stat sheet. Landing at number 3 is a play that caused massive, unprecedented controversy on the playoff stage. Facing the Connecticut Sun in Game 1 of her very first career WNBA postseason series, Clark was hounded by elite defender Dijonai Carrington from the opening tip. Just minutes into the first quarter, Carrington reached out to deflect a pass, but her hand followed through with extreme force, poking Catlin severely below her right eye. Clark dropped to her knees in immense pain. Replays showed a horrific angle where Carrington's finger made direct, heavy contact with the eye socket. It was a devastating hit that caused immediate swelling, leaving the rookie to play through a visible black eye for the remainder of the series. Shockingly, the referees completely kept their whistles in their pockets and no foul was called on the play. Fans and media outlets flooded social media in absolute outrage, accusing Carrington of intentionally trying to take the league's biggest star out of the postseason. Catlin took the high road after the game.
Any pain issues?
It feels good. I don't know. It looks okay too. So glad.
Quickly circling back on the play with your eye, what would you say to the crowd of people that think a hit like that was intentional, and maybe even wants us to?
It wasn't intentional by any means. You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional.
Game, telling reporters it wasn't intentional by any means, but intended or not, The total lack of a whistle on a play that literally left a player with a black eye on national television remains a massive embarrassment for the league's officiating. Coming in at the runner-up spot is a brutal incident that absolutely shocked the basketball world. While our number 1 spot might have caused a bigger media circus, number 2 is arguably the most physically dangerous and violent hit Caitlin Clark has ever taken in a basketball uniform. During a high-stakes matchup against the Phoenix Mercury, elite veteran forward Alyssa Thomas took defensive frustration to a genuinely hazardous new level. During a chaotic scramble for a loose ball around the free throw line, Catlin had already lost her footing and was lying flat on her back on the hardwood. Instead of playing the ball, Thomas stood completely over her and used her massive frame to drive her fist and forearm straight down into Catlin's throat area, literally compressing her windpipe against the floor. It was a terrifying scene that medical experts later warned could have become a life-or-death situation. While the officiating crew somehow completely missed the severity of the strike live, the WNBA league office watched the tape post-game, rightfully upgraded the hit to a flagrant 2, and handed Thomas a 1-game suspension and a heavy fine. When multi-time All-Stars are resorting to actual martial arts strikes to pin a player by the neck on the ground, the league office has a massive player safety problem on its hands. Here it is! The number 1 hardest, most shocking, and most heavily debated foul ever committed on Caitlin Clark. We return to the June 1st, 2024 matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky for a play that completely transcended the sports world and became a national news headline. Right after hitting a mid-range bucket, Sky guard Chennedy Carter was clearly feeling the heat of the game. Before the ball was even inbounded on the ensuing play, Carter walked right up behind an unsuspecting Caitlin Clark, uttered some choice words, and then violently hip and shoulder checked her straight into the floor. Catlin had absolutely no idea it was coming and took the full brunt of the impact, crashing hard onto the hardwood. The referees on the floor completely blew the call live, only giving Carter a common away-from-the-ball foul. However, after a massive public outcry and a formal review by the WNBA league office the following morning, the play was retroactively upgraded to a flagrant 1 foul. This single hit remains the absolute pinnacle of the physical hostility Clark faced during her historic rookie rise. It sparked weeks of debate across national talk shows about rookie hazing, jealousy, and the physical targeting of the league's biggest star. It proved once and for all that when opposing teams realized they couldn't stop her with basic basketball skills, they resorted to pure, unadulterated aggression just to make a statement. Love her or hate her, there is no denying that Caitlin Clark has a chin made of absolute granite. Despite facing a relentless, unprecedented barrage of dirty shoves, airborne levelings, and literal throat-compressing takedowns, she refuses to stay down. She gets right back up, dusts herself off, and lets her game do the talking. Let's call it exactly what it is. The refereeing in the WNBA is an absolute joke. It is a massive black eye on the league. Opposing players realized very quickly that they cannot stop Caitlin Clark with actual basketball skills, so the game plan switched to pure, unadulterated violence, and the refs are just standing there letting it happen. The WNBA is sitting on a literal goldmine right now. If they play their cards right, they could easily be just as big as the NBA. The talent coming into this league is staggering. You have current and future box office stars like Paige Buchers, Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, and Indiana's ultimate protector, Sophie Cunningham. The future is a rocket ride straight to the moon, but the league office needs to wake up and protect its stars. If they don't start handing out heavier penalties and calling fair games, they are going to see their biggest meal ticket get knocked out with a catastrophic injury before the boom even starts. So, let me hear from you in the comments below. Which of these hits went way too far? Was it Alyssa Thomas trying to pin her by the throat, or Chennedy Carter's pathetic blindside shove? Drop your thoughts, smash that like button, and subscribe for more unfiltered basketball countdowns. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.